Alright, so today we're actually going to do 2 pages in our notes. Page 21 is going to be SSA, the ambiguous case. And then page 22, we're going to apply law of signs to SSA. I told you SSA is a pain in your butt. SSA, yep. And so there is a reason why we briefly talked about it yesterday, but I just want to real quick remind you of the pipe cleaners. If I have an obtuse triangle, I'll put that back up in just a second. If I have an obtuse triangle, remember that if you have something your adjacent side or less, that you cannot make a triangle because it'll be too short, because that's an obtuse angle, right? So in order to make a triangle, you have to have something longer than the adjacent side, and then you'll have your obtuse triangle, right? For an acute triangle, it was a little bit more complicated. What did we say had to happen with an acute triangle? I could have my adjacent side, I could have bigger, and I would create those triangles. Or, what else? And y'all should be in Desmond's test mode so you're not distracted. What else did I tell you could create here? Or you're going to have to create? Second, that other side, and if I go straight down, I create a right triangle. Now right here, when I create this right triangle, that is my height. And if I have a side that is smaller than my height, do you agree I cannot create a triangle? Right? But if I have a side that is bigger than my height, but smaller than this adjacent side, what did I tell you yesterday would happen? I can create a triangle here, but also I can create a triangle here. And it creates 2 triangles. So that is what I'm going to sum up today on page 21. And then, depending on if we have time, we'll start page 22. We will not finish page 22. I'll do that on Monday. Okay? So can please everybody flip to page 21, and we're going to do the ambiguous case. So what we're doing here is we are determining the number of triangles. So I would like you to draw an oblique triangle. What does oblique mean again? Not a right triangle. And you are going to be given 2 sides. Alright, you are going to be given an opposite side and an adjacent side. Do y'all agree this would create side-side angle? Or angle side-side? Right? So, in order to know what's going on, if it's a triangle or not, you're going to have to create the height. So I'm going to draw my height right here. And do you agree drawing that height creates a right triangle? How can I find the height? And I kind of want you to just look at this right here. What am I going to do to find that height? Nope, not Pythagorean theorem. Not no signs. What? Opposite over, it's not, even though it's labeled adjacent, what is that really? That's a hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse is sine. So to find the height, I would do my sine of my theta is opposite over hypotenuse. So I'm going to do sine of theta. What's opposite of theta? Again, just do this triangle, not the whole thing. The h. What is my hypotenuse? The adjacent. How do I find the height? How do I get h by itself? Multiply by the adjacent. So your height is equal to your adjacent times the sine of your theta. And you are only going to need to find the height for an acute angle. You do not need to find the height if it's obtuse. Because for obtuse, you're just checking if it is bigger or smaller than the adjacent side. So we are going to make a chart for an acute triangle. When did we talk about you would get no triangles at all? If your opposite side was what? When can I never have a triangle right here? When my opposite side was too small, but how small did it have to be? What would never make it work? Smaller than the height. So if your opposite side is less than the height, you get no triangles at all. What about one triangle on the acute? If your opposite side is equal to the height, it will work. Or what? When else can you also get a triangle? If it's greater than or equal to the adjacent. Right? Because bigger than the adjacent, it'll create a scalene. But if it's equal to the adjacent, it'll be isosceles. So that works. And then for two triangles, the opposite side had to be bigger than the height, but smaller than the adjacent. Your opposite had to be bigger than the height, but smaller than the adjacent. Now, we like obtuse because you cannot get two triangles with obtuse. What would create no triangles for an obtuse triangle? By the way, you're always comparing your opposite side to something. So my opposite side would be what to create no triangles? Bigger or smaller than the adjacent? Smaller. And even if it equals the adjacent, it won't create a triangle. So if your opposite is smaller than, or less than, or equal to the adjacent, you can't create a triangle. So what would create a triangle if it was obtuse? If it's greater than the adjacent. This is your first time seeing this chart. As we do examples, about Tuesday I need you to have this chart memorized. Monday you'll be doing the homework. You'll be looking at the chart to do your homework. By Tuesday you need to be able to have this down. And if you do the homework and you don't copy and you do it on your own, you should have it down after doing it repeatedly. Okay? So let's do some examples like that. We're going to do, I think, 4 examples. We'll do 4 examples. if A is 30 degrees, B is 10, and C is 4, I want you to determine the number of triangles that exist. You're writing this down, please. All right, what do I do first? Sketch. And by the way, do y'all agree I have two sides and an angle? I'm always going to draw, doesn't matter what letter it is, I'm always going to put my angle in this bottom left. You do not have to, that's how I draw it. So it doesn't matter what letter it is, if I'm given one angle, I'm putting that angle here. All right, and so if I did that wrong, I apologize. That should not be a C. Can you change that to an A? That would not be side angle. Sorry, that should be A equals 4. And I like my other side to be up here so that my height can be straight up and down. If you were to put the other side right here, again, there's nothing wrong with it. Your height would just be different. Does that make sense? And so my height can be straight up and down right here. I'm going to put the B right here. B is 10. So, how do you determine if this is a triangle? How many triangles is this? First thing you need to check is what type of problem is this? What type of problem is this? Side angle. If it's side angle, you're going to have to do all this work we're about to do. What if it's not side angle? What if it was angle, side, angle? Or side, angle, side? The answer will be 1. Because it makes one triangle. It does work. This is the only case where you have to check. Every other case, you would say, oh, one triangle. But if it's side angle, you have to check. So now that we know it's side angle, is your opposite, let's label these. On your test, I expect you to label these. Is your opposite bigger than your adjacent? No. Then you need to find the height by doing the adjacent sine of theta. What is my adjacent? 10 sine of 30 degrees. What is the sine of 30 degrees? Sine. 1/2. What's 10 times 1/2? 5. The good news for this entire test, I'm not going to expect you to use your unit circle. You can use a calculator. Because that could be 32 degrees. That's not on your unit circle. Use your calculator. So this one happened to be, but you can use your calculator. Don't quote me on this just yet, but I'm pretty sure you do not need your unit circle for this whole test. Don't quote me. But I think I'm right. All right, so what do we know our opposite is? 4. What do we know our height is? 5. How do they compare? Or opposite is less. So if my opposite is less than my height, my opposite is less than my height, therefore what? 0 triangles. And that's my answer. And that's how you do this. Do you have to justify and say this right here? Yes. Do you have to label your opposite and your adjacent and your height? Yes. Because if you tell me opposite is less than height and you don't tell me what the height is and what the opposite is, I'm going to say, what are they? And then I'll count points off. You need to label everything. What questions do I have? We're okay? Alright, example 2. Let's try this one. A is 30 degrees, B is 10, and little a is 5. Go. Draw the picture and answer the question. Band, 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 band. Edwin, can you get that, please? Oh, there's more than one person. Oh. Thank you. Thank you. Do I just pay in full cash?
Just cash.
Just cash. Ooh, okay. I don't know if I have any cash right now.
Yes, I got you.
Okay. Can I? No, I don't want to owe y'all. Let me see. Can I bring it on Monday?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's fine. I'll email you.
Yeah, okay.
And
yeah,
if I
Monday.
don't, email me.
I'll make a note. No
Okay,
worries.
thank you so much. I don't ever keep cash on me.
Why are you scamming them?
What?
Why are you scamming them?
I'm not scamming them. They're selling dog treats as a fundraiser. Alright, what do we do first? No, before we do that. What type of problem is this? Side-side angle. It's side-side angle, so now I need to see, is my opposite, label your opposite and adjacent, is my opposite bigger than my adjacent? Nope, so I have to find the height. If it was, then you would just say one triangle, opposite is bigger than adjacent, and you'd be done. But since it's not, I'm going to have to find my height. And if you did not notice, this is the same numbers as the one before. So do y'all agree the height is 5? Right? And what's my opposite? 5. What do we notice about these? What happens when they're equal? There's one triangle. So you would write opposite is equal to the height, therefore one triangle. And if you have friends in first period, I actually wrote it backwards. It does not matter which way you wrote it. So like I wrote 0 triangles because it's the same thing. So I'll accept either way. All right, 2 more examples if you can flip over when you're done writing that down. Or if you don't need to flip over, keep going. Are y'all good? Example 3. Angle B is 110 degrees. B is 10. C is 15. What are we going to do first? Sketch it. And what do you notice is different about this one? It's obtuse. Could you sketch this as a acute angle and put an obtuse number? Sure. Doesn't hurt. And what do we think about this? It is side-side angle. So I'm going to label my opposite and my adjacent. What do I know? I'm not going to find the height here. Why? Because it's obtuse. On my chart for the obtuse angle, there was no h at all. We like obtuse angles. So how many triangles are here? 0 or 1? I want you to just look at it. Just look at it. If you have an obtuse angle, can this be 10 and that be 15? No. Why not? Because my opposite is less than my adjacent, therefore 0 triangles. Again, we like obtuse. Edwin, you sure are looking at that computer hard for somebody who doesn't need it right now. Alright, last one we're going to do is example 4. I might add some another day on here, but for right now, this is all we're going to do. Can you please draw this triangle? Do y'all agree this is side-side angle? All right, what am I going to do now? Label the opposite and adjacent. And as I'm labeling, I'm going to think, is my opposite bigger than my adjacent? Nope, so I have to do the height. Again, we're dealing with the same numbers, so my height is 5. So what do you know about your opposite and your height? How does my opposite compare to my height? It's greater than my height. So look at your little chart. Where is opposite greater than the height at? 2 triangles. Is it make sure, is it also less than the adjacent? Is that also less than the adjacent of 10? Yes. So this is going to be 2 triangles because, so I'm writing it the opposite way here. Your adjacent is bigger than your opposite, which is bigger than your height. Again, if you wrote it backwards, that's fine. What time are we getting out of here? 59? 59, okay. Do I have any questions? We're good? Alright, we're going to turn over to page, does anybody need more time? See a couple people writing, I'll wait. We're going to turn over to page 22. Okay. And this one's going to be law of sines. SSA. Page 22. So yesterday we learned the steps to using law of sines. And it's going to be almost the same thing today. So we are still going to be drawing a triangle and label. And we are still going to determine the case type. Write this down, please. Yesterday we said if it's AAS or ASA, do law of sines. Today we're going to say if it's SSA, sorry, ASA or AAS. If it's SSA, now you need to determine the number of triangles. If you determine that it is 0 triangles, you're done. You don't have to find any of the signs because the triangle does not exist. Now, if you get 1 or 2 triangles, you are going to apply law of signs. Not see, what I do see. Okay, what do I do first? Sketch it. And because I only have one angle, I'm going to draw that angle right here on the bottom left. And that opposite side goes across. And this other one I'm going to do on the left side here. Again, you could put A on the bottom if you wanted. That's up to you. What kind of problem do I have? I have SSA. Specifically, I have SSA acute. Do you agree? That's important. That makes a difference because that's an acute angle. So now what do I need to do? Label. I have my opposite and my adjacent. Is my opposite side bigger than my adjacent? No. So I'm going to find the height. Do you know what the sine of 50 is? Because I certainly do not. You are going to go to Desmos. When you type this in Desmos, please make sure what? Make sure you are in degree mode. And actually, if you type it in to, can you help me find sine? There we go. To sine of, what is it, 50? You should never get a negative answer. If you do, you're probably in the wrong mode. So go to degrees, and what is my answer? 1.53. So my height is 1.53. So opposite is 1, height is 1.53. How do they compare? And what happens when my opposite is less than the height? 0 triangles. Therefore, we're done with the problem. We don't have to figure out anything. We like 0 triangles. Are you going to get 0 triangles a bunch? No, I'm going to make you solve. But we like 0 triangles. Example 2. What is Miss Nelson doing up there? Alright, here's example 2. I would like you to solve for everything. All right. Did you write SSA somewhere on this problem? And I'm going to write acute and label opposite and adjacent. Is my opposite bigger than my adjacent? Yeah, I don't need to find height. Why? Because if your opposite is greater than your adjacent, therefore what? How many triangles is that? One triangle. So if your opposite's greater than your adjacent, you don't even need to find the height, because we know that's one triangle. Now we can apply law of sines to find everything. So what do I need to find here? Say it louder. I need to find the two missing angles and side C. Do y'all agree with that? All right, what do I have everything for? Or everything of? A. I have the sine of 40 over 3. And I want to find, let's find B first. We have to find B first. The sine of big B over 2. What are we going to do now? Cross multiply. So that is going to give me 3 sine of big B. Oh, this is different than what we did yesterday. How am I going to get B by itself? This is no longer a side. It's no longer going to be as easy. Divide by 3. So the sine of B is going to equal 2 sine of 40 over 3. And then what? Inverse sine. And that's what you are putting in the calculator to find your angle B. What questions do I have about any step I took? What do we get? Make sure something on the test that a lot of y'all did, y'all were not writing the inverse. Y'all were just doing the sign. Please make sure you're doing the inverse sign. And then I'm going to do the divided by sign so I know that it's getting. And then here you're doing regular sign. Do y'all see how you're doing both inverse and regular? And then 3. So what is it? What's my angle? 25.4 degrees. Make sure you have a degree sign. So if B is 25.4 degrees, how can I find C? Add them up and subtract from. Okay, so that you don't get this wrong when you're doing, like you end up rounding twice, you'll get a wrong answer. What I'm going to suggest you do right here is to label this B equals. Label that B equals, so whenever I'm adding them together, I'm going to add together B plus, what is the other one? 40. And then I'm going to subtract this from 180. Oh, I didn't do it twice. Okay. And I get an accurate, again, sometimes the rounding doesn't matter, but sometimes it definitely does. Does that make sense what I'm doing in Schoology? So in not Schoology, goodness gracious, in Desmos. In Desmos, when you're doing this, I would put B equals when you type this in. And so to find angle C, I'm going to do 180 minus 40 plus angle B. And what did we get for angle C? 114.6. And I'm actually going to, on this one, I'm going to label this C. C equals. Okay? Are we okay? Now I have the two angles. How do I find the other side? Law of sines again. So I'm going to do the sine of 40 over 3. And what is angle C? What did we get? 114.6 degrees. So the sine of, I'm going to leave this angle C. I'm going to leave this as the letter C because in my calculator I'm going to type in that C so it's accurate instead of rounding. Again, I just worry about y'all rounding twice. You'll get off a couple decimals if you don't do this. Over little c. You have a question? We okay? Okay. And then what am I going to do? This is just what we did yesterday. Cross multiply. And divide. And then when you put this in your calculator, you will do 3. The capital letters matter, so if you decide to put it as a capital letter, make sure it is capital when you're rewriting it in Desmos. And this is 4.24. Is that what y'all got? And that is my answer. I figured out everything. Questions? This next problem is going to take me a whole page. We are not finishing this today. If you have like less than half the page left, I would just go on to the next page. If you want to be like challenge accepted, sure. But all I want you to do with the problem we're about to do is steps 1, 2, and the beginning of 3. I'm going to give you the problem. I want you to draw it, label it, determine the case type, and tell me how many triangles. And then we're going to stop there. All right, we'll finish solving this on Monday. Is this example 3? Example 3. So I'm going to tell you A is 6, B is 8, not C. I don't know why I did C. And angle A is 35 degrees. So please draw your triangle, determine the case type, and then figure out how many triangles there are. I should have drew this picture way bigger. I'm going to redraw it on Monday. Way bigger. What did y'all get for the height? Louder? 4 point. I can't hear y'all. They're like whispering. 4.59? So if my adjacent is greater than my opposite, which is greater than my height, therefore, what is it? 2 triangles. I'll just do that right now. I'm going to redraw this because there are 2 triangles. We're just going to want a bigger triangle so that I can highlight and write in a bunch of different numbers. I'll go into depth on Monday about what to do about that. Okay? We'll break it up and do all those things. We are done for today. You can go in to, if you want to get started on your homework, you can go into Schoology into the homework tab. And I believe you can now do, let me go look. The first 2 bookworks for sure. You also have this solving trig worksheet. What numbers does it say on your calendar that y'all are supposed to do? Due Tuesday are numbers 12 through 20 evens. 2 sides of an angle are given. Determine the number of triangles. You can do 12 through 20 evens on that solving trig worksheet already. If you want to get started, that's up to you, but that's not due till Tuesday. All right?